Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions on the open meeting law, GLC 30A, Section 18, in the Governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place, this meeting of the Town of Harwich Community Preservation Committee on Thursday, June 11th, 2020 at 6 p.m. may be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and/or parties with a right and/or requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the Town of Harwich website at www.harwich-ma.gov. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to watch the meeting may do so now in the following manner on Channel 18 or by watching the simulated cast, whatever that is, at http://harwich18.dybn.org/cablecast/public/channel 1D=1. Do I continue with no in-person attendance? Mary? I'll read it. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we'll post on the Town of Harwich website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. Now we can do roll call.
Okay, Jan, thank you very much for that. I'd like to start with the roll call. I'm going to start with the chair, David Nixon. Can I go to John here? Can I go to Joe? Boy, I'm getting a lot of feedback.
Here.
Okay, Donna?
Here.
Kim?
Here.
Mary? Mary?
I'm here, David.
Okay. Robert?
Here.
All right. Thank you all for the roll call. Welcome everybody to the meeting. Is there anybody on the line for public comment? Hearing none.
Hi, David. I just wanted to jump in. It's Jim here.
Oh, how you doing?
I'm here. I don't have the video going.
Okay. Welcome, James. Okay. Introduction. Approval of the minutes for May 14th, 2020. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve the minutes for May 14, 2020.
Second.
Who said second?
I did, Joe.
Okay, thanks.
Welcome, Joe. I didn't realize you were there.
Yep.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You need a roll call, David.
I'm sorry, roll call. John?
Aye.
Joe?
Aye.
James?
Aye.
Robert?
Aye.
Donna?
Aye.
Kim?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
And myself, aye. All right, new business.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
just before you proceed, can I just ask Mary if she is intending to share her screen with the rest of us? That's what I'm seeing. I'm not sure whether that's intentional or not. We're looking at your cell phone.
You should be seeing my face. Are you not seeing my face?
We'll see your face in your part, but it says on my screen, Mary Maslowski presenting, and we're looking at your,
I can't hear anything you just said, John. Sorry, could you repeat it?
you are set up as presenter right now, and we are looking at your cell phone screen.
So I am on my cell phone. I'm on it. I shouldn't see anything other than my photo.
I'm having very
Can you
different,
see anything now?
Yeah, you need to turn off you need to tell your cell phone, your connection, you don't want to be presenter. I don't know if there's a way for someone else to do that.
Mary, if you deselect the screen button, it appears as though your screen is being shared.
Yeah, right. There you
Wow.
go.
there you
Well,
go.
it didn't work.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. More exciting times with the new technology. All right. Actually, Mr. Administrator, I'm going to turn it over to you. Could you give us a rundown on the projects that were spoken about at the Board of Selectmen meeting on Monday night?
I can do you one better, Mr. Chairman. I can turn it over to our procurement officer, Griffin Ryder,
That
which
works.
is exactly what I did Monday evening.
Exactly.
But I'm also prepared to back him up as well as give an update. Excuse me, I apologize. To give an update on the vault project, as you may recall. But at this point, I'd like to turn it over to our town engineer.
Okay, thank you, Joe.
Hi, everyone. This is Griffin Ryder. Can you hear me?
Welcome, Griffin.
I apologize for not being on video, but I have two young kids who are getting ready to go to bed, so I'm going to save you some pictures. Thank you for having us. I'll run through basically the list that I have. There's a number of active projects, and we've got movement on a lot of them. So starting off with Brooks Academy Museum, I'm in the midst of working with a constructional engineer out of Watertown, actually. They've done some historic structure revitalization work, and I worked with them previously at UMass Amherst. So they've got a good feel for historic buildings and how to repair them when it comes to structural foundations. So I'll be reaching out to them and hoping to coordinate a scope and fee, receiving a scope and fee from them to move forward with that project. The next one I have on my list is the Hinkley Pond landside project. As we know, the alum treatment has been done, and the testing, I believe, is wrapping up or in the midst of wrapping up. But the landside design, or landside project, which includes some picnic areas, a bike pavilion, and a stairway down to the newly treated pond. We're in the midst of developing that plan. Amy and I met yesterday, I believe, to go over that. I've got the plan probably about 50–60% done, and we'll be working to wrap that up, share that with DCR, and then go to Conservation Commission with that to get approval and move forward with that. Next one on my list I have is Brooks Park expansion. This is a multi-phase project, and the phase that we're in right now is the lighting. I know this has been around for a while. We have just this week, end of last week, entered into a contract with an electrical engineering firm to perform a preliminary lighting analysis to figure out the best way to move forward with that project and to help us develop specifications that can then be turned around to put out to bid. So we'll be working with them over the next few weeks to get that preliminary study done and continue to push that forward. Next on my list, I have the Depot Street North bicycle crossing system. And Paul Gazai from the Bikeways Committee and I were coordinating on this earlier this week. We were going to send it out for request for quote, around April, but we were in essential spending only. So Paul actually put together an email documenting how we believe it's essential for safety reasons. So I will be bringing that to administration for review, and hopefully we can move that forward. The good news on that one is I think we can shrink the procurement process from what's been done in the past. It's below $50,000, so we only really need to request for quotes. I've got 2 vendors that we can request quotes from. I'm just looking for a third. Then once we get the approval to go ahead, we should be able to turn that around in relative short order. Next on my list, the Brooks Park bathroom. This has been ongoing. We're coordinating with the state with the variance process. We sent some stuff in earlier this year, and they commented back and are looking for a couple more things. So we'll be getting that back to them over the next couple weeks. That's what I have for active projects. I may be missing 1 or 2 here or there, but I'm happy to answer any questions on those or address any other projects that I may not have spoken on.
Okay, I'm going to open it up to questions to the board. I'm going to start with John. John, do you have any questions about the projects?
No questions, no. Thank you.
Robert?
What about the sand pond bathroom? Is that under your domain?
Yeah, so on Sand Pond bathroom, Joe and I met with Eric and John Mahan a few months back, and they had requested some quotes from a local engineering firm to do a septic design, which we got a really good number on. And then they also had I believe they've moved forward with a test pit. I haven't heard back from Eric on that more recently though, so I can reach out to Eric probably next week to see where that's at. But it seemed like it was moving forward. I just haven't heard the update on that.
Thank you.
All set, Rob?
Yes.
Joe, any questions?
I don't. I know all these projects pretty well now, so I'm good right now, and he gave a great update, so I'm set. Thank you.
Okay. James?
I'm all set. No questions.
Donna?
Hi, Griffin. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, thanks. Actually a little tired, but just what are your, when do you expect, is it, 3 months, 6 months that these projects will actually be out to bid and contracted and started?
It'll likely be staggered. I mean, I'd like to say within the next 3 months, we should be able to get, the majority of the ones that I went through out. Every time I hate to say this, but every time I commit to something, we seem to have a natural disaster.
So you're the one.
Yeah, there's been a lot of those.
Maybe it's my fault, but no, I am motivated to push these forward, and my plate's been fairly full.
Okay, and I might be able to give you another bike light vendor, so just email me separately.
Certainly, that'd be great. Thank you, Donna.
Yep, no problem.
Kim?
No questions, thank you.
Mary?
I just want to thank Griffin for the updates and no other questions from me. Thanks.
Okay. Griffin, thanks a lot for coming to the meeting. And we will be talking.
I'm happy to respond, and if we want to have an update every couple months, I'm happy to do that as well.
Okay, that's great. Thank you very much for that offer. Okay, now, Mr. Powers.
Mr. Chairman.
Let me see if I get myself back here. On the storage facility, I know there was some question or debate about what was going to happen. Since the funds aren't being used, with every article the CPC has put forward at the very end of the articles through town meeting, when town meeting votes, it states any money that's unused gets returned to the particular pot that it came out of. So would you please, if that's the case, that the funds are not going to be used, would you please submit a letter to the CPC stating such, so that we can get together with Carol, the finance director, I'm sorry, and we can vote to rescind that money and put it back to the appropriate.
Certainly, and if I may, when you make reference to storage system, I imagine we were talking about the vault system that would have been in the basement of community center.
That's correct.
All right, so in anticipation of this meeting, I did present to the selectmen a number of weeks ago an update under the TA report that it would be my recommendation that those funds be rescinded. Excuse me. Given it's my understanding that that was a project that had emanated within administration, so I took the liberty of presenting that to the board. Generally, the Board of Selectmen had no objections, but there were questions as to what would be the unwinding process. So if it's as simple as a memo from me to you with a copy to our finance director, I can execute that tomorrow.
That's fine. Mr. Chairman, Larry Valentine, you have any objections to that?
Absolutely not. It's been an issue forever, is how to rescind money. This sounds like a simple process, so let's move.
Okay, that's great. That's why that little caption was put in at the end of every article, because of what had happened previous. So, any questions from the board members about that particular issue? Hearing none. Is there any other information that we need other than Amy's on, so she can give some background on what we need with the Hinkley Pond access information? Joe, Larry, you're welcome to stay. Griffin, you're welcome to stay, or we're just going to continue on. Thank you very much for your time.
I may stay for a few minutes. I have a family Zoom in a few minutes, so
okay.
I get to see my grandkids. So that's you're important, but let's face it.
We understand the priorities, believe me.
Mr. Chairman, I have no such good excuse, but I'll still leave.
Okay.
Excuse me. Thank you all.
Thank you for your time, Joe.
Take care, everybody.
I'm going to hang on for a minute. Amy and I have been coordinating on Red River, so I just want to hang on for a little bit.
Okay, that's great. Amy, are you still there?
Yeah, she disappeared from the screen a minute ago. I'm going to text her. And
She's not with us anymore. She's not in attendance.
Okay, maybe the information was enough that was presented by Griffin. So she felt that she didn't have to present anything else. Other questions? We got the report. Is that correct, Jen?
Yes, you have Red River as well as the access on Hinkley's.
Okay, so that's enough said for that. Okay.
And you also have the report on the Affordable Housing Trust.
That's right, yep.
Okay.
So that takes us, we're in the new business anyway.
Probably the only thing we don't know are the brackets for the Albro house. Mr. Eldridge was supposedly doing the work on the brackets.
I should have kept Joe. That's all right. You know something, I can pose that to Larry. There was some leftover miscellaneous things that had to be done to Albro House to complete that project. And the person from the town that was doing it has since retired.
David?
Yes.
This is Mary. I actually spoke with with John Eldridge this week, and I believe that's something that is still on his plate to do, and that I believe he was hired to do that post his retirement. So I
Okay.
believe that's in progress.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Mary, for that update. Larry, you're off the
You're
hook.
welcome.
I'm off the hook. Thank you.
Okay, is there anything else anybody has any questions about?
Dave,
Yes,
just after the money for the vault project, and I assume that came out of the historic bucket. After that's returned, can we get a revised update on the finances?
I had planned to ask Carol to come into the next meeting.
Okay,
Is
thank
that-
you.
Okay. All righty. Next on I guess the next on the agenda is the reorganization. But before we even get into that, Kim, I just realized that in the last meeting, I think I thanked you publicly, but now that you're here, I didn't realize this was going to be your last meeting. So I just want to thank you again publicly, and I really wish you would reconsider. No pressure.
No pressure. Well, thank you. You know what's going on in my life right now, though, so it might be a little difficult to reconsider at this time, but I appreciate it. And I've definitely enjoyed serving this past year. It's been a little strange with this whole quarantine, but still, we're getting through it.
Okay, great. Again, thank you. All right, shall we go into the reorganization part of the meeting? Who would like to be chair?
Dave, can I ask a question?
Sure.
So everybody else on the committee is on the committee past June 30th, 2020.
Right.
There's no new reappointments for this committee.
No, there's not. Not
Okay,
for the moment. When Kim resigns at her date, that means there will be 7 members of the committee where there should be 9. And Kim's from housing, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and then there's still 1 selectman's appointee to be appointed.
may I ask a question?
Go ahead.
Was that solicited for? Did the Board of Selectmen solicit for that position?
They haven't.
We have not yet.
There are 2 members, there are 2 appointees from the Board of Selectmen to the CPC. And I believe you're one of them,
Yeah, I'm one of them.
and there should be a second one, but that second position has been unfilled for quite a period of time.
Donna and Dave, let me bring that back to the rest of the board and see if we can act on that.
That's great, Larry. Thank you. Donna?
Yeah, I mean, just my concern about reorging without having a full board, and sort of curious why. I mean, I think that vacancy's been there since, I'm gonna say like February, maybe even earlier than that. It was Chris Rocket, right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have, Donna, historically, we have always been under the 9-member board. The reasons for that, I can't explain to you.
Okay.
David, this is me.
Go ahead.
David.
Yep, can hear you, Mary.
I'm not so sure. Why are we reorganizing in June? Shouldn't we be reorganizing after July 1st anyway?
Well, we
Typically, we
usually
do.
reorganize, we traditionally reorganize after town meeting. If the board wants to wait, that's fine with me. I have no objections.
I'm just asking the question because typically all of our other boards reorganize after June 30th, which is when new members would be appointed and confirmed and sworn in. So just my 2 cents.
It's up to the pleasure of the board.
Dave, I mean, that was kind of my question, because that's my experience too, that typically reorganization happens in July, except for the Board of Selectmen, because there's an election tied to it, or boards that have elections tied to them.
That's fine. So we'll wait. Easily done.
We're just trying to keep you in place for another month.
They're not going to let you go, David. Donna, to your point, I lost track of it. I didn't realize we were down one for the selectmen. So I'll certainly bring that back right away.
Well, Larry, just to be a little more succinct, we're down two now.
Yeah, well, I know two, but I got the one. Yeah, but the one's been hanging on.
Okay. Kim, do you have any recommendations for anybody to fulfill the spot?
I been trying to get in touch with John Stewart and Tracy over at the Housing Authority, but there's like a transition going on right now, and then with the crisis going on, I'm having some difficulty. But I do have a couple recommendations, but we have three open seats on the Housing Authority board, so we need to fill the seats to appoint somebody. But my co-director, Nicole Moyniz, she's been in housing for 15 years. Don knows her as well. She is interested and would be, I think, a really good fit. So I'm working on it, but you know, with the town offices closed and the transition at the authority, it's taking time.
Okay, great. Great. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Mr. Chairman, do you have any idea when we're going to be off this type of meeting and back into town hall?
Not specifically. They're Joel's left, but they're putting the plexiglass around and reorganizing town hall. And we started 2 weeks ago having our selectmen's meeting in the Griffin room.
Right.
I was asked to today, by the way, Kim, by Don from the Housing Trust, to allow them to use the Griffin room for the Housing Trust meeting. So I think there's some room to start using the Griffin room, especially when you have a smaller, well, this may be a little larger, but the conditions are still that you have to be able to separate yourselves at the meeting. But I think we'll start opening it gradually and start scheduling that when it's available. So I would suggest even as early as next week, we'll start looking at some gradual use of town hall. The separate question, which you haven't asked, however, is we'll probably keep town hall closed, at least like the meeting rooms, closed to the public for some time after we let the committees go into the rooms.
Okay.
So if they could, the idea is that you meet in person because that's more better. I mean, let's face it, but
far more effective. Yeah.
More effective. We're not set up for, I don't know when we'll be set up to allow public participation other than what we're doing now, go to meetings so they can dial in and ask questions and listen to what you're doing.
So my next question, Larry, would be, is there any way for the board chairs in the town to get into the town hall to get their mail?
You can do that now. If there's any question, email Patty or Danelle and ask them if there's a time they prefer, because they are spacing it out. They would rather not have all the chairmen show up at the same time.
Understood.
So as a courtesy, just call, say, you'd like to get the mail sometime, and they'll probably say, sure, come on in and do it.
Okay. Is the mail, has it been relocated from the basement?
I don't think so.
Okay. All right. That's great.
David, yes, it has. It's actually, sorry, Larry, it's actually on the floor outside the town hall library. They've moved the cubby holes upstairs.
Okay. Thank you, Mary. I know I got mine recently, but it's in the office behind Patty, and that hasn't moved. But, I didn't pay attention.
Not a problem.
All right, thank you, Mary. Okay, is there anything else we need to discuss tonight? And do you want to set up the next time, the meeting frame?
Right. The next Tuesday, if we are still going to do it remotely, it would, I think between Mary and you, we have it set for the 9th of July. Go away. That's our second Tuesday. Not you, the screen. This little screen. You know how I talk to things. And that calendar won't stay away. The 9th of June, excuse me, the 9th of July is the second Tuesday.
Okay.
That's our traditional day. Is that kosher with everyone?
It is.
I'm still vetting the dates for the July meetings for everyone.
Okay.
So as soon as I get them confirmed, I'll circulate all the meeting credentials. But we've been working on that for 2 days. So.
And it doesn't sound like we can do a public input or schedule that, or the group had wanted to do that early. So we can't set a time for that, can we? The big public hearing one?
Mr. Chairman, once a year, the CPC, by statute, has to hold a public hearing, public meeting, to solicit information from the public on what their opinions are about how the CPC does going forward. So that's going to throw a real monkey wrench into the system, depending on what happens with the COVID. Any thoughts on that at all?
I'm sorry I stayed around, Dave. I think you do have some time. You know, we're looking at scheduling town meeting now for the end of September. And that's been the driving force to have your public meeting before the town meeting, to have that input. And so it has to happen, but that would give you July, maybe even into August to do the public meeting, I would think. And maybe you'll have more, maybe the scheduling will become a little better. Worst case, you'll still have to do it by go-to meeting and just have the larger form. But I think with the governor's orders and extending when we can have town meetings and what we're doing, I think you have some time.
Just thinking out of the box a little. We have up at Brooks Park, we have an area where the CPC board could have a meeting.
Yeah.
It's covered, you know, that you're familiar with the area. Maybe this is more of a question to Mary. Could we have a board meeting outside and invite the general public to that meeting?
So David, right now, the directive is no more than 10 people, right, for gatherings. So you know, I don't really know the answer to the question off the top of my head. I think the problem with being outside is that we then can't record it unless somebody's going to be able to videotape it outside. It won't be able to be live broadcast. And a remote meeting on GoToMeeting, you can public hearings. I mean, our permitting boards are still taking action on items and following, you know, the statute. It's just a matter that people are participating remotely. So, you know, to Larry's point, we don't have to have the public meeting in June like we had wanted, but at the same time, if we need to rely on a remote meeting, we can rely on a remote meeting. That would still satisfy the statute, I'm sure.
Okay, I'm just trying to make it as comfortable for everybody as possible and get as much input in as possible.
So, Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to speak about conservation because we've been doing that now continuously, meeting twice a month. And it's a little awkward, but it's still effective, and we still manage to pretty much do the business of the Conservation Commission as we always have. And it seems to me that we probably, my opinion is we should plan on having the public meeting through GoToMeeting, because it's not clear when we're going to be able to get away from that. And it is possible for the public to come and present here and make their opinions known. I feel like we should just proceed in that manner.
I don't disagree with that. I think the issue I have in my mind is any assumption on how large the public participation will be. You know, your committee, and I've attended the Board of Health, it's worked, but in some ways it's worked because it's been pretty well controlled. There's applicants coming in, and there may be one or two at most general participants. When we talk about it for the town meeting, for instance, you can have, I don't know, 20 or 30 participants, and it's a different game. I'm all for planning. I would encourage you to plan for both, and hopefully we'll do something that gives us some options, John and David.
Okay, that sounds fair. That's a fair assumption. Any other thoughts from the board? Donna?
Yeah, so can I just ask a clarifying question? So the public meeting is intended for the applications that we would take for the next round of funding, right? So
No.
Yeah. Yes.
No. The public meeting. Now we're talking about the annual public meeting for the CPC.
Yep.
Designed to solicit input into what the CPC does and is doing, and if the public wants to have any different direction. That's what that meeting's for.
Right, but David, Donna's right. That's prospectively. That's for us, for new things that are coming before us.
Okay, we're just saying.
It doesn't affect we've already voted on that are on a town meeting agenda.
So
you understand what I'm saying?
I think my point in that is it's important to have the public meeting prior to the application deadline for the May 2021 applications, right? Because it's supposed to inform the process and help the CPC members understand what's important to the community.
That's correct.
Because we're not going to revote the warrant articles that we've already put forward that would have been heard in May. And I think the point of it is to garner as much community participation as possible. So that might be an area where, you know, we open it up to allow people to send emails ahead of time, just in case they're not comfortable with this format, though I don't know how anybody in the world isn't now, but I think it is important to promote the public hearing and garner input on the public hearing.
If I may,
Larry, go ahead.
We're trying a somewhat new process for the Board of Selectmen's meeting on Monday. We've had an agenda item, and that we've had an open public participation towards the end of that. That's not ideal, but it has, because it hasn't allowed people to bring it item by item. This Monday, we're going to open, we're going to ask people to email us if they wish to join, and then we're going to open it up on agenda item by agenda item. So I'm hoping it will be smoother and allow them to comment on each item before we, probably after we've made the motion and we open up for discussion. But I'm hoping, Donna, it kind of follows what you're talking about, where we can do it piecemeal and that people, but still have some control. We can mute those folks until it comes time for, we've asked them to identify exactly what we're going to ask them to identify what agenda item they're interested in commenting on, and then we'll open it up when they come, give them the opportunity when that item comes up. If that makes any sense.
I'm gonna be turning in for sure to see how the operation goes.
The discussion we've had is how do you give open participation and still prevent chaos and have some control? And I don't know the answer to that. We're trying different things.
We're gonna find out, Larry.
We're flexible. Then we'll change if it doesn't work.
Okay. Donna, how much extra time do you have?
Absolutely none, because I'm the assistant town administrator and we're in the middle of an emergency.
Oh,
Okay.
Come on.
Well, she had the concept put together, so that's something that, John, would you be interested in taking that on as far as the emails coming in to the CPC? Because it has to be advertised in some way, shape, or form.
So the way you're thinking of the task here is that we would solicit input probably starting very soon.
Correct.
And targeting maybe, well, let's just say for the sake of discussion, a public meeting in August. So if you're targeting a public meeting in August, we would have to start very soon to solicit input and then get emails and construct an agenda out of the email, and then publish the agenda and ask people to, to Larry's point about you're going to construct an agenda and then various other people may want to comment on those agenda items. So then you need to solicit further input for people to identify which agenda items they want to talk about. So there's two layers there, right?
That's correct.
So if you're asking me if I would be willing to organize emails, sure, I guess I would be willing to be the recipient of the emails and maybe work with Jan to construct an agenda out of that.
That works. So my key point is to get as much information out there as possible. So could something with Channel 18 be set up along with the newspaper to advertise what we're doing?
So David, we're required to advertise in the newspaper. So we have a statutory ad that we have to place in the newspaper in order to advertise the public hearing, in addition to the public meeting notices that we'll have to put up with the agenda, with that as an agenda item. So I think it's a lot more simple than we're making it out to be. I think it's just a matter of adding into that advertisement. Maybe we advertise for a longer period of time than is even required, but you add in an email address for people to send in comments, and we advertise the ability to do the dial-in. And in that instance, maybe we do want to do the way the Board of Selectmen had been doing it, that when people want to talk in a meeting, they also email into a specific email address, so that we have that ahead of time in addition to their letters and their emails. But you know, I think the advertisement's required by state statute in the Community Preservation Act. So that's all got to get done before the meeting happens anyway.
So David and John, if I may, let me email you the language we are putting out for next Monday for our agenda. Maybe that'll help you.
Yes, it would.
You know, that type of language, because I think it's a little simpler, John, than what you're envisioning. I'm hoping so.
Yeah. David, can I ask a question? When you typically do your annual public hearing, do you email like the last 2 years of applicants and let them know that you're going to be having this public hearing?
The answer to that is
I'm sorry, what was it?
no.
No? Okay.
We just generally have, go ahead, Jen.
Actually, Kathy used to email them. We sent out all the people on the committee, tell their committees that we're having it. Kathy used to email prior participants the announcement.
I didn't know that. What about Channel 18?
Yeah, Channel 18 has it. We sent out the notices in the newspaper, and then we also created a flyer that was posted at all the strategic places around town, the community center, the library, the town hall, the grocery stop and shop in Harwich, Shaw's Market. I don't know if that brought anybody in, but I did the, running around with it.
Didn't Chris Rocket also do an interview on Channel 18 as part of it?
Yes.
Yes, he did.
Yes.
So I guess at this point, this is uncharted territory for me. So Larry, if you had some kind of a guideline or blueprint, that you could, to me, so I could see how you guys are setting it up.
I'll do that for your perusal, and I know John's an expert on this as well. You may come up with a better idea, but at least it'll give you maybe a baseline to start at.
Okay, that's great. And John, you and I can just have a discussion after we get that. I'll share that information with you and.
Sure, absolutely. So, but just to go back to your comment, Larry, really, we're not thinking about constructing an agenda out of people's inputs. We're just going to solicit input. And once we get people's input.
I think your word solicitation is a little stronger than I would use. I think you'd want to construct an agenda and then offer people a chance to join the discussion on the agenda item they're interested in. In other words, you have so many CPC articles, that'd be your agenda when you go through, and then they could, you want to give them a chance to comment on them, I believe.
Well, wait a minute. I thought the point here was not to be reviewing this year's CPC articles. It's to solicit input on what we're going to do for next year.
Okay, I misunderstood. I thought it was a
That's
comment on this.
So,
okay. You're right then. I'm sorry.
It's just an open invitation for people to come and attend the meeting, and a request that they notify CPC ahead of time that they want to attend and talk about a particular topic.
Right. Okay.
And then we publish an agenda that has those
and then
topics.
they can comment again. Yeah. Okay. Sounds good.
Okay, so I'll get the information from the chair. I'll provide that information to the board members so everybody can see it. And any input, just get back to me and we'll go from there. I don't want to set a tentative, we already set a date for this particular next meeting. Is that correct, Ann? For the next regular CPC meeting, we have already set a date.
And we're waiting to hear from Eric and confirm it, but the 9th of July.
July. Okay,
All right.
so we'll have enough time to get into an August meeting and have an August open meeting for the general public. So, is there anybody else? All right, thank you very much for your attendance tonight. Kim, thank you. And do I have a motion to adjourn?
And roll call.
Thank you all for all you do. Fantastic committee. It's a lot of work. Very much appreciated.
Thank you, Larry.
Thank you, Larry. Thank you, Larry.
Okay.
Thanks, Larry.
Motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
I believe, I don't know the right.
Second, Mary.
Mary just seconded it. All those in favor, starting with John,
Aye.
Robert,
Aye.
Kim,
Aye.
Donna,
Aye.
Mary,
Aye.
Joe,
Aye.
James,
Aye.
and myself as I. Good night, folks. Thank you.